Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from What Culture.
And I'm Andy Murray from What Culture. And coming up today, I'm going to tell you all about the latest lawsuit to land at WWE's doorstep. And I'm also going to tell you why Lance Archer signed with AEW over other promotions.
Plus another terrible Raw rating and an update on WWE's taping schedule. This is the news.
I'm a goddamn mess today, but we're going to kick things off with a rundown of the latest class action lawsuit to come to WWE. Seems to me like in this empty arena era, the legal team of WWE are the busiest people in all of pro wrestling. We've had the Oliver Luck XFL lawsuit, we've got the one that Gareth and Andrew Pollard reported on last night, and today, this morning, we have a brand new one relating to WWE's dealings in Saudi Arabia. Comes to us from the law firm Kessler Topaz Meltzer, Meltzer and Czech LLP, and it's all about how WWE's various dealings in Saudi Arabia have negatively impacted the stock price. Comes from shareholders who bought stock in the company between February 2019 and February 2020. There's a lot of stuff here. The disappointing Q1 2019 financial reports owing to the delay in the announcement of a Saudi event that led to a drop in stock prices. We also have, and this is a direct quote here, the Saudi government effectively holding WWE wrestlers hostage in retaliation for WWE's decision to delay a live broadcast, which led to further declines in October 2019. So shareholders looking at their money, they're looking at the value of their stock going down, and they're going, hey man, this Saudi Arabian stuff is messing with my portfolio here. There's also some stuff here about how the relationship between WWE and the Saudi government, the tensions there have reached breaking point. It's a mess. Vince has a massive pile of legal papers to sift through at the moment, and it's going to be interesting to see if more of these come up over the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know a great deal about the legal side of things, so I'm not going to wade too far into this, but all I can think about last night, especially when I saw the Raw rating, which I'm going to get onto in a second, is how many years have WWE sort of been making money in spite of itself? TV deals, Saudi Arabia deals, and what have you. You know, if they just made a good product, all of this stuff would kind of be secondary. But at the end of the day, they're not doing well in terms of pay-per-view buys, in terms of TV ratings. Yes, they've got these incredible TV deals, but they are going to come to an end eventually. It just strikes me, A, why WWE don't just concentrate on kind of the more important stuff, and B, who the hell would invest shares in WWE anymore?
Yeah, it just seems like month after month there's something new that is either tanking the price, the value of these shares, or denting investor confidence in Vince further and further. We hear these reports like constantly in 2020 about how the business world is losing faith in him and so forth. We got a really interesting snippet from WrestleVotes over the weekend about how Vince has essentially entered screw it mode, explaining his promo on Triple H on this week's episode of SmackDown. Man, it's a crazy time. There's going to be a lot of stuff unraveling. Maybe it's time for a change. I know we say that a lot, but maybe.
Yeah, it strikes me that this is a different series of circumstances. I am inclined to agree with you there, Andy. I think I watched a little bit about Meltzer and Alvarez talking about this the other day, and just saying when they saw him on SmackDown, you know, we all know about Vince saying, no, I shouldn't be on telly anymore, I'm too old. But looking at that performance, yeah, it's worrying, I think, more than anything. Rather than being critical of him, it just strikes me that, you know, that is the guy, as much as you might think, oh, he's a bit of a weird character on telly and that segment didn't work, he's in charge of the whole company. Yeah. He is running things. He is making the big decisions. And yeah, even more so than ever, perhaps, it could be time for a change. It's not going to happen. He's going to be there till he's 100.
Yeah.
Look at his mum, for goodness sake. Right, let's talk about Monday Night Raw and another awful rating, another dip in WWE's ratings. They came dangerously close to an all-time low. Thankfully, that is still held, I suppose thankfully, by the Christmas Eve episode in 2018. They hit 1.78 million. But this week's dip from last week's 1.84 to 1.82 this past Monday. This is the lowest non-holiday number in the show's history. Just breaking down the hours though, 1.95 million hour 1, 1.89 million hour 2, hour 3, 1.62 million. And I know there's this weird war going on Twitter with AEW fans and WWE fans, and AEW fans pile on the NXT fans on a Thursday or Friday or whatever their figures come out, and then WWE fans pile on AEW fans when the SmackDown and Raw figures coming out. But I mean, they're getting closer.
Yeah, I mean, those people are absolutely mental. It's almost like the multi-million-dollar corporation that has several decades of monopolistic experience should be beating the startup company that has less than a year of weekly programming under it. Those people are nuts. Never listen to them, the internet. Yeah, I mean, this is just getting depressing now. It seems like we are a click of the fingers away from that all-time low. It's the empty arena era. News shows are dominating everything on TV. I think something like only one of the shows that beat Raw in the demo last night, on Monday, sorry, were non-news related. So it's a crazy time, but it's a unique time, and that's pretty much all I have to say on this, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like we're repeating ourselves every single day.
Yeah.
I need crowds to come back. I need, this lockdown to be lifted. But, as much as I say that, don't do anything yet until you are advised by the appropriate bodies. Please stay home, because it is life and death for some people.
It's nuts. It's crazy. And man, how do you deal with it? I don't think there's any good solution, but I'll tell you what was a good solution. Lance Archer going to AEW.
Hey!
That's been pretty awesome so far, right? He seems like a really good fit. He's a monster. He's awesome. He's one of the best working big men in the business. And tonight he goes up against Dustin Rhodes, the next round of the TNT title tournament. Gonna be awesome. Dustin is great in that role against the monster. But anyway, we've got some new stuff here from Alex McCarthy, the tremendous Alex McCarthy of TalkSport. Come through. He's interviewed Lance Archer. He spoke to him yesterday, and we've got a snippet of it here, talking about why he went to AEW when he knew he was going to sign. Well, he knew he was going to sign with AEW when he was wrestling Jon Moxley at New Japan Wrestle Kingdom 14 on the 4th of January. He knew there and then, because, in his words, while he had several offers from elsewhere in the wrestling business, AEW were much more attentive. They really went after him. A number of people within the promotion, not just executives, wrestlers, other staff members, they all wanted Lance to sign. They all came to him, made him feel presumably like a valued guy who was going to do something meaningful there, and so it paid off. Goes to show, man, that, a little extra care can make all the difference when it comes to scoring a big name free agent, which Lance Archer certainly was, and now he's one of the hottest commodities in AEW. So I think it's safe to say that it paid off.
I can already hear in the comments, by the way, we've already mentioned AEW and ratings and stuff before, and now we're heaping praise on AEW for signing Lance Archer. I can already hear it starting. Don't bother. But Lance Archer, is the perfect fit for AEW in my opinion. I don't think you could have handled him any better than what they've done. And whilst, yes, WWE, probably would have made him look great too. They've got a decent history with big men that Vince likes the look of. They've had problems along the way with Braun Strowman, but generally they made him look incredible, as we've discussed in the past. But yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense that I think it is a lot of what people would probably have assumed considering their history in New Japan. But I think bringing Lance into AEW, and in particular coupling him up with promos from Jake the Snake, I think it's a wonderful combination. Yeah. And I disagree with anyone who says that, Jake the Snake sort of draws away from Lance Archer. If anything, I think he gives him even more of a shine.
Yeah, man, it's a perfect pairing because Jake is still like the creepiest, most sinister promo in the world, really. He spits his diatribes and he's away from the shows at the moment because he's a little bit older and doesn't want to risk his health. Fair enough. He does his promos and then Lance gets in the ring and the squash matches have been incredible. The Marco Stunt one was outrageously good. 3.5 minutes of just poor little Marco getting thrown around like confetti. And then the Allen Angels one that followed it was good as well. Very effective match with Colt in the TNT title tournament. We love Colt Cabana on this channel. We've said it many times. And when he faces Dustin tonight, man, I don't see how that won't be awesome. Look, it's very hard for me to be objective when it comes to Lance Archer and Dustin Rhodes, but those brothers are going to kill it. I'm sure of that.
Yeah, I'd just like to say from all of us here at What Culture, Dustin, it's been nice knowing you, mate. Another question to come about Lance Archer in due course, but let's talk a little bit about WWE's tapings. Of course, SmackDown at the end of last week started a 5-day series of tapings. They're going to conclude with tonight's NXT show. Then they'll have everything taped right up until the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and including some segments of that Climb the Corporate ladder match that's apparently already been shot. According to reports, WWE are going to return to the Performance Center for more tapings on the 11th of May, starting with that evening's Raw, and then we could go through May, June, possibly even up to July. We assume, as things stand, that the next pay-per-view following Money in the Bank will be Extreme Rules. No real word on that yet. But yeah, WWE, Andy, seems set to really knuckle down with these tapings and get a lot of stuff in the can.
Yeah, they're just getting stuff done, man. Sounds like everything's going off without a hitch. This is a much more sensible thing to do than going live or taping in smaller batches. They're giving people like up to 2 weeks to self-isolate and quarantine and whatever's needed. You know, there's still a lot of valid concerns to discuss regarding this and social distancing and should wrestling continue and all of this. But man, it's a much more safer and much more sensible thing than what Vince initially wanted to do.
Yeah, it's far safer than the live shows, and you know, it's not ideal. Some people might say it's not even right, but it's the lesser of two evils. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it's where we are, and it's how it's going to continue as well.
Exactly. Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCultureWWE on Twitter, of course, if you want to get in touch. First question today comes from Big Joe83, asking a question about AEW. We can be critical as well. Big Joe says, as much as of the quality of AEW has been arguably much better than WWE, can you see them bringing in someone like Stone Cold or The Rock to really shake up the industry?
Oh my good gracious. No, certainly not a name of that stature. So they've had Bret Hart, right, who unleashed the world title, unveiled the world title, and not to disrespect Bret Hart, but I think, you know, Bret Hart's one of the all-time greats. He's like one of the top 5 wrestlers ever, but I think Steve Austin and The Rock, maybe their Q scores are just a little bit higher as far as like the general public's knowledge and perception of these people goes. So I don't know if a guy like Steve Austin would do anything like that for a direct competitor to Vince McMahon. I don't think Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, would either. That's his full name, isn't it? Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Yeah. I could see them trying, but I think these people cost a lot of money, and at a time when they're not bringing in any revenue from their live shows, that's very difficult. They have lost a much higher chunk of their revenue. Less money overall, of course, but a higher percentage of the revenue than WWE has. So I don't see it happening, but I could definitely see them bringing like Bret back for another thing, or maybe another name who's not quite as mainstream known as Steve Austin or The Rock.
I know we're in a bubble, but it still surprises me that when I speak to friends of mine who are slightly more casual wrestling fans, or not even wrestling fans whatsoever, that AEW still hasn't quite, you know, registered for them. I still have to go into detail and explain who's in it. In terms of reading that question, Andy, as like bringing in a modern day version of Stone Cold or The Rock, you know, or establishing someone themselves. How do you take that? Because, you know, I know necessarily they didn't make Kenny Omega, but he has the potential, along with someone like an MJF, surely to be their version of, I mean, not in the same vein as Rock and Austin, but, you know, in terms of like an industry leader, surely, I mean, the more exposure they get, I mean, you can't look at someone like, well, you can hate him, I suppose, but you can't look at someone like MJF and not be impressed.
Have I just completely misanswered that question?
No, I read it both ways. That's kind of what I'm kind of glad you answered it in both ways.
Yeah,
I think that's a valid point about them bringing in other, you know, major stars, the Jericho's, your Bret Harts, but also, I wasn't sure how it was going to be asked, how you were going to take it either. So I'm glad you kind of covered both.
No, that's cool. Yeah, no, I think like having like a big, powerful franchise player is something that every wrestling promotion I think should aspire to. Kenny Omega would be a great shout. The presentation of Kenny Omega thus far has been divisive, to say the least. We had the squash match last week that a lot of people didn't like because it was too long or too competitive or whatever, diminished his star power. That's been a problem with Kenny throughout AEW. I think a lot of people would say that. How they go about building someone like that is very, very difficult. Now, I'm not saying saying that this guy can be The Rock or Steve Austin, but a guy I think they could really capitalize on with a unique market, building massive following. He has one already, is maybe Darby Allin, who has this appeal with younger viewers. You see people at shows with the face paint and all this stuff. If you can get that younger audience hooked on Darby Allin now, they will follow him for the rest of their wrestling fandoms, and that could be a powerful tool over the coming years.
And we're always talking about, you know, the crossover ability of wrestling and wrestlers. You know, you put them in a different scenario, you expose them to the general public, whether will they sink or swim, will that sort of translate to that audience? MJF's a modern day version of The Rock. You put him on a talk show, he kills it, and he will get eyes on the product. It might be the case of it's a sort of Floyd Mayweather-esque, I want to watch this because I want to see this guy get his arse handed to him. But I think MJF could really draw more and more viewers in particular, perhaps when things get back to normal and people are just, you know, wanting to. I sense that when all this moves on and things are lifted, I personally know I am, but I sense a lot of people are just going to want to try everything. You know, it's almost like, oh, I didn't appreciate what I had. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I get you. And MJF is definitely a guy you can put on a talk show tomorrow and he'd kill it. Absolutely.
Exactly. Right, next question today comes from Jonathan Rivera, who says, something we don't talk about a lot is WCW. Personally, I was made a lifelong wrestling fan by WWE's Attitude Era, so didn't see much of the competition. Same here, Jonathan. What is your guys' all-time favourite WCW feud or match? I'll gladly go back and watch.
So, WCW, I think... You're right, we don't talk about how good WCW was at various points because WWE have been controlling the narrative for 20 years that this promotion was just a disaster from start to finish. It wasn't. There were times when WCW was the best wrestling product in America. So, like, I've got a cheat answer for my favourite feud and match because it went down when it was still Jim Crockett Promotions, but the weekly show was World Championship Wrestling. It's Tully Blanchard versus Magnum TA, the Steel Cage I Quit match from Starrcade 1985. It is a perfect pro wrestling fight, not a match. It is... You just gotta watch it. I can't really do justice how attritional, how brutal, how bloody, how personal it is. It's everything I want from pro wrestling. However, if you want a less crappy, cheaty answer from after Ted Turner bought the promotion and it properly became WCW, I've got two for you. Ric Flair versus Terry Funk at the Great American Bash 1989 and the classic match, the Rey Mysterio versus Psychosis match from 96. I believe I just rewatched it on the network the other day. It informs a lot of today's wrestling, put it that way.
I'm in this similar boat to Jonathan Rivera. I didn't watch WCW growing up. I was an Attitude Era boy and was just, you know, weaned on the fact of WCW's crap, don't watch that. But now, having, you know, grown up and got into this sort of career, I've gone back and watched other stuff and you really can appreciate it. And I think Jonathan there is reflecting a lot of things that people are doing now where they're like, I want to watch wrestling. I mean, not the wrestling that we've got on right now, even if it is, you know, NXT and AEW, because it just doesn't work. I just want crowds, I want reaction, I want all that. So they're going on the network and enjoying stuff. Not necessarily matches, just feuds that I'd suggest people go and watch. The most obvious one that immediately pops into my head is Guerrero Mysterio, especially because we lived through it in WWE.
Hell yeah.
The sort of 90s era Guerrero being such a git towards Rey Mysterio is great. And then, you know, obvious stuff. Sting and the NWO, DDP, Randy Savage. Honestly, you're spoiled for choice for the barrage spot.
Yeah.
Basically, as long as Russo's not there, you'll probably be all right.
Yeah.
Final question today comes from Casso. I like this pitch. It's just more of a pitch for Money in the Bank, Andy. What if Otis carries Mandy Rose up the ladder and they recreate the scene of King Kong at the top of the building? That's genius. Well played, Casso. I didn't even think of that.
That's the best idea I've heard all month. If they don't do that, I'm not going to cancel our network subscription because it's The Office and we need it for work. But please do that, yes.
Like, they could easily do it, and like they could even do the whole planes thing with just drones. Just drones. Just, yeah, I love it. Do it, Casso. Great pitch that. Right, let's move on to today's and finally. And I'm not sure if we've ever given him a shout out on this, but he's spectacular. Well worth a follow on Twitter. Malcolm Bivens, who you may know is the guy behind that new hard-hitting tag team they've got on NXT. You know, the guy who just goes all the time. He's far better than that. Honestly, if they put a mic in his hand on a regular basis, you will see how good he is. And his Twitter game exemplifies that. At Malcolm Velli on Twitter, last night tweeting, "Wow, just realised Alex Shelley and Kushida were trying to go back to the future to save us from 2020 this entire time. Life is crazy."
Man, if only we trusted the time splitters, we wouldn't be in this mess at all.
God, I never thought I'd say I miss 2019, but I miss 2019.
Yeah. It's just, to hell with 2020, man.
Yeah. It's off 2020. Go and follow Malcolm Bivens and let us know your thoughts on that and all of today's news stories in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts from for daily wrestling podcasts. Plus join myself and the Dudley Boys live at 4 p.m. today here on YouTube, where we'll be previewing the Wednesday Night War and discussing any breaking news that comes out in the next few hours. As I said, you can let us know your thoughts on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Well, actually, there you can follow both of us. You can follow Andy Murray at
Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Hakuna Matata, because I'm Pumbaa and Adam's Timon.
I think that's all right. Which one's that?
I'm the fat one.
God, I love the fat one.
You're the meerkat.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Seth Rogen does the voice in the new Lion King for that?
He does, yeah. It's a good film, actually, man.
To be fair at that. Yeah. You can follow me at Adam Wilborn. Actually, yeah, cast all of What Culture in the comment section as Disney characters. That's your job for today. Follow me at Adam Wilborn. Follow us all at What Culture WWE, as I said. But for now, my thanks to Andy Murray. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.